The debt ceiling is a term that you may have heard a lot in the news, especially when there is a political standoff between the president and Congress. But what exactly is the debt ceiling and why does it exist? The debt ceiling is a legal limit on how much money the federal government can borrow to pay for its spending. It covers both the public debt, which is the money that the government owes to outside investors, and the intragovernmental debt, which is the money that the government owes to itself, such as to Social Security and Medicare trust funds. The debt ceiling was created in 1917, during World War I, when Congress passed the Second Liberty Bond Act. This act gave the Treasury Department more flexibility to issue bonds and other debt instruments without having to get specific approval from Congress for each one. However, it also set a cap on the total amount of debt that the Treasury could issue. This cap was called the debt ceiling. The purpose of the debt ceiling was to make the federal government more fiscally responsible and accountable to Congress and the public. It was also meant to reassure investors that the government would not borrow too much and risk defaulting on its obligations. However, over time, the debt ceiling has become more of a political tool than a fiscal constraint. Since 1960, Congress has raised, extended, or revised the debt ceiling 78 times, often after heated debates and brinkmanship. The reason is that the federal government has been spending more than it collects in taxes and other revenues for most of the years since World War II. To make up the difference, it has to borrow money by issuing more debt. But issuing more debt means that the government gets closer to hitting the debt ceiling. And when that happens, Congress has to either raise or suspend the debt ceiling to allow more borrowing, or cut spending or increase revenues to reduce borrowing. If Congress fails to do either of these options, then the government could run out of cash and default on its payments. Defaulting on its payments could have serious consequences for the economy and the financial system. It could cause interest rates to spike, stock markets to crash, and credit ratings to downgrade. It could also damage the reputation and credibility of the United States as a borrower and a global leader. That's why many economists and experts have argued that the debt ceiling should be abolished or reformed. They say that it does not actually control spending or borrowing, but only creates uncertainty and instability. They also say that it gives too much power to a minority of lawmakers who can use it as leverage to extract concessions from the majority or the president. In this video, we will explore some of these arguments and counterarguments, as well as some possible alternatives to the debt ceiling. We will also look at some historical examples of how the debt ceiling has been used and abused in the past, and how it may affect our future.